Hello, Gjeremy. Thank you for the response, but first off, you obviously misunderstood me when I said my first point was transhumanism would degrade life. I never said it would degrade life, I said it would diminish the value of life. If you look back at the Black Deaths, people's lifespan were so short that it diminished the value of life or made life look like something cheap in passing. The same thing would happen if we lived for 1,000 years. Although it wouldn't be cheap in passing, it would be so long that people will no longer have the mentality of living life to the fullest because we're only here for a short time. Your second point was yes. We are already overpopulated, and transhumanism would solve this problem. People would say, I don't need to have children because I can have them whenever I want because I guess your lifespan is so long. Well, first off, it's a natural human instinct to want to reproduce, and that wasn't really my main point anyway. It isn't that we would reproduce more, even though we most likely would. It's simply that we would die, that we would not die. So now you have a higher or the same birth rate and vastly longer lives. This could only lead to overpopulation, and I mean bad overpopulation, worse than what we have now. Now, when you talked about how the poor and the rich would be able to afford them, you said that since each person in the United States has a debt of $43,000 per person, that this is far cheaper in comparison. Well, this isn't saying that everyone could pay $43,000. To get that number, they simply took our national debt and then divided it by the population of the U.S. And I really didn't see your point with the national debt per person. So, since the national debt per person is high, that suddenly means that if something costs less than our debt, then it makes it seem cheap. And even if there was a way to somehow integrate nanotubes into our bodies, you cannot automatically say it's cheap. The cost of nanotubes vary from $1 a gram to $1,000 a gram. It's relatively new technology, so we can't make assumptions about the cost just yet. And saying that every family in America could afford $1,000 for nanotubes is reaching way too far. I can assure you there are plenty of families that cannot afford this. So, aside from transhumanism, the obvious flaws in transhumanism ideas, you can also see that it is far too unrealistic to achieve.